What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the August 3rd, 2024 edition of SmackDown LowDown. Yes, this is from before SummerSlam. Only had a chance to watch it today. They do cover some stuff that was not involved in SummerSlam, so some of it's outdated, some of it's not. Let's get into it, though. Megan Moran, Scott Stanford in the studio, replaying the opening segment with Cody Rhodes, Solo Sikoa, setting the stage for their Bloodline Rules match at SummerSlam for the Undisputed WWE Championship, adding that stipulation during said segment. They also quickly recap the Bloodline winning the tag team titles. More on that later, though. They hype up Cody Rhodes and Sikoa for the aforementioned Undisputed WWE Championship at SummerSlam. They replay Andrade beating Carmelo Hayes a second time after beating him a couple of weeks back for the first time. We hear from Andrade backstage with Byron Saxton, and Andrade says that Hayes is amazing, he's a great athlete, but he's done with him. He's beaten him twice, and now he's time to move on. He's ready to move on and set his sights on the United States Championship. Scott Stanford says that Hayes just has to brush it off and move on himself, but I feel like we might get Knight and Andrade one of these weeks for the United States Championship, and then Hayes might cost him the opportunity, might cost him the championship against Knight, and that kind of continues their own feud. They replay Isla Dawn and Alba Fire, retaining by disqualification the WWE Women's Tag Team titles against Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. We hear from Byron backstage with Jade and Bianca. Jade Cargill says that they feel disrespected. Bianca says that Fire and Dawn just keep ducking and diving them, and they will have an answer for them in Blair Davenport. They didn't say it here. They're clearly talking about Naomi. I'm not really sure where the ambiguity and uncertainty comes from. We saw them with Naomi mere months ago, so I'm not really sure why this is some big surprise. I'm not even really sure why Naomi wasn't on the show to help save them on Friday. I know they want to drag it out, but theoretically, why wouldn't she be backstage? Was she attacked a couple weeks ago? I don't remember. Anyway, they replay the LA Knight and Logan Paul homecoming, quote-unquote, segment with Knight, spoiling the homecoming for the then United States champion. They preview their match for the U.S. title at SummerSlam. They recap Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu beating the Profits last week. We'll get to the main event in a moment, but they wanted to replay that in the gauntlet because we hear from the Profits backstage. Dawkins says, he talks about the loss from last week and how they came up short, and they did do well before losing to the Bloodline in like a fourth or fifth consecutive matchup, so that was pretty impressive. They are interrupted by A-Town Down Under, and Waller says that they would have won last week if they were in that gauntlet. Maybe Theory said it, I don't remember, but they basically said that they would have won last week if they were a part of said gauntlet. And then they kind of go back and forth. B-Fab warns Theory that that he's being used by Waller, which we've been hearing time and time again on this show for months now. It's like, okay, we get where they're going with this. Just shit or get off the pot. Fucking get to the split already. I'm not really sure what they're waiting for. I appreciate long-term storytelling, but it's been the same shit for a while. They got to move on. But they also do set up a match for next week between A-Town Down Under and the Profits. So they had a match for the WWE Tag Team titles coming out of Mania earlier this year, right before the draft. And obviously A-Town Down Under won that matchup. So they're going to have a rematch, and I imagine the Profits will win that one. They replay, officially this time, the main event with the Bloodline beating DIY for the WWE Tag Team titles, poor DIY. Scott Stanford says that he would love to know what the original Bloodline were thinking. Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns. Obviously, we saw Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, but this was before that. And then to close out the show, they run down the card for SummerSlam on Saturday. So a good go-home show for the pay-per-view, but I also like that a lot of what we got here on SmackDown LowDown, and this is why I still review it and watch it and whatever, had nothing to do with the pay-per-view. It was actually stuff that just happened on SmackDown that was not related to SummerSlam. So like the WWE Women's Tag Team title stuff, the Profits and A-Town Down Under, the Andrade Hayes matchup. So SmackDown on Friday, wasn't really that eventful of an episode, but it did further some stuff along for next week. It set some matches up as well. So I thought this edition of SmackDown LowDown, even more so than set the stage for SummerSlam, did a good job of recapping those undercard storylines, which again, like I said, I'm glad I still watched the show and reviewed it anyway. Thank you guys for checking out my review of the SmackDown LowDown from Saturday. We're going to have hashtag AskGSM up, which was supposed to be up on Friday, the SummerSlam episode. I've been busy all weekend, obviously, in Cleveland. Came back home earlier today, actually. Alexis and I both. When I say earlier today, I mean like fucking 2 o'clock in the morning. Our flight got delayed multiple times, so we got back really, really early in the morning. Still recovering. It's going to be a while, but the content is slowly still coming in. I'm going to have the interviews up at some point. I put up the live reaction of Roman Reigns' return at SummerSlam. I put that up on the channel last night, and the delayed reaction of Paul Heyman getting booted from the Bloodline and MSG on SmackDown back in June, so check those out from yesterday. We should be back on track, though, with Raw Talk tomorrow, hashtag AskGSM on Wednesday, and so on and so forth from that point forward. So have an awesome one, guys. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.